Hello students, welcome to today's mathematics class. Today's topic is plane shapes. So we'll be discussing plane shapes and the properties as well as the construction of plane shapes. So let's start with the definition of a plane shape. We have that a plane shape, which is also called two-dimensional shape, or plane figure, is a geometrical figure that is completely flat, that is, shapes with no thickness or height. So plane shapes are generally shapes that are flat without any height or thickness. Okay, a plane figure can be made of straight lines, curves, or both. So examples are rectangle, square, triangles, parallelogram, trapezium, etc. So let's start with the properties and construction of plane shapes. And the first plane shape we are looking at here is the rectangle. Now, the rectangle is also a plane shape, that is, a two-dimensional shape. And these are the diagrams of a rectangle. Some of the properties of plane shapes of rectangles are listed here. We have five of them listed here, though we have more. So depending on the aspect of mathematics we are dealing with. So that might require us to learn about more of these properties. But for now, let's look at these 5 properties. So the first one is that it is a quadrilateral. What we call quadrilateral are all shapes with 4 sides. Okay? The second property here is that opposite sides are parallel and equal. Okay? Now we have a rectangle this way. A rectangle usually have 4 sides. But of these 4 sides, 2 are always equal and parallel. So the longest side of the rectangle is called the length, which we call L. You can write it as the length. And the shortest side is called the breadth. Or we can call it the width. So let's call that B. So for this other rectangle, this is the breadth because it is shorter as compared to this, and this is the length. Okay, so we say that opposite sides are parallel. For plane shapes, to show the parallel sides, we use arrows to show parallel sides. Parallel side. So once I have 2 arrows on this side and 2 arrows on the other side facing it, we say they are what? Parallel. Also, these other 2 sides are parallel. So I'm using a single arrow to show that the side with single arrows are parallel, while those with the double arrows are parallel. So for this rectangle, we can have this side parallel to this side, and this side will be parallel to this side. So majorly we use arrows to show parallelism. Now there's another point here that they are also equal. That is, if this side of this rectangle is 10 centimeter, from this side to this side will also be 10 centimeter. And if this is 2 centimeter, this will also be 2 centimeter. So the equality is shown with strokes. So if I decide to add a single stroke here and a single stroke here, this stroke signifies that these 2 sides are equal in length. And on the other side here, I can have 2 strokes. So if I have 2 strokes here and 2 strokes here, it means those sides with the same number of strokes are also equal. Now the third one says each interior angle is equal to 90 degrees. The angles in a rectangle that is, the point where two sides meet, the angle between them is always 90 degrees. Okay, that's the third property. Now we have that it has two diagonals which bisect each other. A diagonal is usually a line, a straight line, which runs from one vertex of a plane shape to the opposite vertex. So we say a rectangle has two diagonals, one which runs this way. Okay, let's use this. It runs from here to this point. That's a diagonal. And from here to this point, that's another diagonal. So the diagonal, we say they bisect each other. That means the point where they meet, from this point to one side, it will always be equal from the same point to the other end. So the fifth one says that it has two lines of symmetry. So what is line of symmetry? The line of symmetry is simply a line that divides a shape into two equal halves. Equal halves means we have exactly the same shape on those two sides, in which the line of symmetry has divided it into. So the line of symmetry of a rectangle, we can show it vertically, because once we divide the rectangle vertically, we have exactly the same shape on both sides. And if we decide to divide horizontally, we'll have exactly the same shape at the top and exactly the same at the bottom. So these are the lines of symmetry. So a rectangle has two lines of symmetry. Okay, so let's discuss about the construction of rectangles.